All right, guys, it's time for our hot topics. Let's get right on into our hot topics.
Truth,
What are we
lies,
talking about?
shenanigans.
What
All
are we
right.
talking about? What we got to talk about today?
So, the way this
Anything.
works, one of our hosts will start us off. They'll tell us if their topic is a truth, lie, or shenanigans, and they'll tell you what's going on in the world. Then we'll talk about it until time is up. And our friend Gingy will drop in and let us know the time is up. And we'll stop and go to our live audience questions and comments online where we'll bring Gianni in. You still there, Gianni?
Hey
Bring Gianni in
guys.
and she'll share your comments and questions, what's going on, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more. So make sure you're talking to it. Once we're done, we're going to the next host and their topic. So with the first topic, I'm going to take on the hottest of topics, this presidential election. Like I said, we've already started talking about it, but let's talk about this election. As of showtime, Biden only needs Arizona and Nevada to turn his way. And it looks like Arizona has been called by most or a few of the networks, meaning he really only needs Nevada at this point. But Pennsylvania and Georgia are still up for grabs. As we said earlier, last night was really worrisome as Trump had already taken Ohio, Florida, which were major battleground states. So, how are we feeling, guys? Are we pretty confident that Trump is out? Agent Orange is done? Lizzie?
I mean, I think you have to speak it into existence. So yes, get out, Bama. Get out. You about to lose your job. You about to lose your job. Whoop, whoop. We gotta speak it. We gotta put it in the
That's right. He's gone. Get him out of there.
Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot of shenanigans after the fact once, Joe Biden is declared the winner, and we'll just deal with that as it comes. But I think it really says something that a lot of these states that turned, a lot of these states, that would typically vote Republican, decided, listen, we are going to get our people out there to vote. We are going to give them a voice and we're going to let them speak. And so I appreciate that. Like, yes, I know a lot of people are disappointed that the numbers are very close. But I think it says a lot that we got some states that we really didn't expect to get, when this thing started.
Yeah, that's true. Robbie, how are you feeling?
It's yeah, it's to me again. I just keep going back to the fact that this thing hasn't been decided already by the American people. Just to have this level of dysfunction for 4 years, this level of just divisive tactics, and unfortunately, it seems to have really worked at galvanizing the people because he's still holding about half of the vote, which is just
Yeah.
terrifying. But it definitely looks like it's going to be a blue Thursday, maybe a blue Wednesday if the counting gets in. But yeah, I mean, it's encouraging to see that the winds of change appear to be blowing in.
I mean, you made a really good point about you know, how many votes he got. Good lord. I mean, almost 70 million votes for Trump? What in the hell?
However, oh my gosh, I can't remember. There was an article that I read earlier today that mentioned that Joe Biden, out of any president running in an election for
Has
the
gotten the
United States, has
most
gotten the
votes.
most votes ever,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that
And
is a
I
lot.
think it's something that we also need to take into account and mention. There are about 370 million people who live in the United States. Less than half of those people, less than half of the 370 million are voters. So the majority of people living here are not voting. So that's something we need to also take into account and
Yeah.
correct as we move forward over the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Getting people to vote and then not talking about, so now everyone's kind of trying to figure out, once again, like they do every 4 years, they're trying to figure out what is the Electoral College. If we want to change the Electoral College, it needs to start today, tomorrow. not in 2022. It needs to start 2024. It needs to start now. If that's something that we want to make an initiative, that we want to change as a part of our government, as a part of our electoral process, then we need to get on it now.
I want to bring Johnny in real quick because I see some funny comments online. Johnny, what comments you got going on?
Hey guys, so yes, so far we have Jacqueline Robinson. She said that's what Bernie Sanders pointed out. Voting should be compulsory. We also have Ayanna Brown. She said he got the most votes because of Hellboy, not because he's better than Obama.
That's true. That's true. That's 100% true.
Mike Winter says racism is strong. Nobody wants to be on the bottom rung. That's what this is about.
Yeah. Totally agree with all those. Totally agree. Thank you, Gianni. I mean,
So,
good.
no, I was just going to say, we talked about on Sunday's show a little bit about a lot of states, a lot of cities boarding up buildings in anticipation of the election, in anticipation of social or civil unrest, maybe some violence, maybe some riots. So far, it's been kind of quiet around the country. However, in Washington, D.C., overnight, unfortunately, there were 3 Proud Boys, if you will, that were stabbed in the city. And allegedly, they were stabbed by members of Black Lives Matter. And ironically, one of the people that was injured in that particular incident was a Black woman who was arrested over the summer for defacing the Black Lives Matter mural down in Washington, D.C. So that seems to be the only incident so far. Hopefully nothing else happens. Like, I want everyone, regardless of, whether, Joe is officially announced president of the new POTUS, or if something, some bad miracle happens, which will make me believe even less in the Bible, and, Trump wins the election. Regardless of what happens, I think we need to, keep calm heads. Don't go out and be violent. Don't go out and, destroy property. There are other ways to get your point across. This is still our country. These are still our states. These are still our cities. And we need to set a better example and be that change, just in a personal and effective way, not in a destructive way.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree with all that. Now, let's get into Trump and his attempts to steal the election. He's come up with multiple scenarios over the months about exactly how he would do it. Basically, contest the mail-in ballots and create uncertainty, and then Supreme Court. Or he also suggests this.
And all I'm asking is people go out to vote, and stop with this nonsense, because we're going to be counting ballots for the next 2 years. And I don't want to end up in the Supreme Court, and I don't want to go back to Congress either. Even though we have an advantage if we go back to Congress. Does everyone understand that? I think it's 26 to 22 or something, because it's counted 1 vote per state.
So just to explain that real quick, there's this thing called a contingent election. So, for example, if he were to hold up the election long enough, or maybe dispute the votes through like December 15th, I think is when the electors vote, are supposed to vote. What can happen is it can then go to Congress if a decision isn't made. And if it goes to Congress, what happens is they get 1 vote per state, right? And so Congress votes 1 vote per state. And according to his calculations, he believes if it goes to Congress, he would win 26 to 22. Lizzie?
Just for the record, for all of you Washingtonians out there, pay attention to that. 1 vote per state. DC is not a state. So that means we would
Your
not
votes
get a
don't
vote
count?
in that scenario. So again, pay attention to what you are voting for. DC statehood, people. We need statehood in the District of Columbia.
It also eliminates the big cities in red states. So all those votes, like for example, right now Georgia's contested because of the Atlanta votes; they're still coming in, and then Michigan, of course, was contested it for a while until all the Detroit, the big city votes came in. So that one vote per state just eliminates all of those votes. So it potentially could have like Michigan and Minnesota and the rest of them could have gone for Trump if we go to, one vote per state if we do go to Congress. So I mean, he's been trying to steal this election for months now. That's his whole plan. So right now, when he's talking about going to court, um, that's what he's talking about. Robbie,
But it
what do you
also,
thought?
go ahead, Rob. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, that's it. I mean, with the Supreme Court appointees that they've had over the administration, he's he's outlined it. He's absolutely outlined it. He's been calling it a fraudulent election already for weeks. So now the fact that he's not leading it, we're definitely going to see some kind of appeal process. He's going to try to tie this up legally as much as possible, and unfortunately, with the SCOTUS appointees that they've gotten throughout the administration, they might be able to actually get some traction with it. And it's just so scary that it's been completely orchestrated and transparent. It's been in everyone's face, and the script has just kind of played along.
It's going to be hard for them for Trump to fight these votes.
It's just further proof of, the type of demon seed that America elected in 2016.
Demon
We have
seed.
elections. We have elections or general elections for president every 4 years in this country. So there's always two people on the ballot. There's a winner and a loser. Never before have we seen a loser act like this. Never have we seen a loser try to challenge the democratic process because he's pissed that it's not going his way. Like, you go into this game knowing the rules of the game, knowing how it's played, and knowing what the potential outcome could be. In 2016, he wasn't calling for all of this ruckus. He wasn't, making this kerfuffle because he won in the end.
Kerfuffle. That's the new one.
So when things are going in his favor, he's fine. But now that he can't get his way, it's like, oh, it's rigged. I'm going to, file a lawsuit. They should stop counting the ballots. When have we ever stopped counting ballots?
Right. That's
Remember,
absolutely ridiculous.
3+ million people in this country. All of those ballots are not going to be counted in 12 hours.
Now to clarify,
So why?
he did say stop voting. In his speech, he specifically said he'd like to stop the voting, but
He also
the
said
way he said it was to insinuate stop counting.
But he also, again, he's not very well educated, even though he went to an Ivy League school. He also tweeted yesterday something about the polls, the election polls, but spelled it POLES.
POLES.
So, I mean, come on. Yeah, he declared that he won last night.
Ridiculous. Yeah, matter of fact, he's going to try to make a play at going. He's still going to try to make a play going to court over Michigan and Pennsylvania. But for the Supreme Court to get involved, one of them has to be like determinative. Like, for example, it comes down to Pennsylvania, and so now the Supreme Court has to kind of make a decision. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case because right now, like I said, all he really needs is Nevada. But it looks like he might take Pennsylvania and Georgia, actually.
Well, I mean, like you said, he's challenging Michigan now. He's filed suit to challenge Michigan. There was something that came across the wire maybe an hour ago that they were challenging the votes in Arizona, claiming that people were voting with Sharpies. And so those votes shouldn't count. Like, he's just pulling stuff out of his behind right now.
Yeah, the Attorney General, I heard her say that, just laughed that off. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. This is how you expect a 10-year-old to act.
Right. That's very true. Very true.
Not a 70+-year-old president, leader of the free world.
Any last thoughts before I go to the audience, Robbie?
No. Let's hear from the audience.
Okay, cool. Gianni, what's going on online?
Hey guys. Okay, so people are saying that he always says the evil part out loud. That's what Jacqueline Robinson.
It's true. He does.
Marjorie said, I had faith that it isn't going that far. 45 is losing GOP. No one wants to go down with this crazy train.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point, Marjorie. That's a really good point.
Yes.
Anything else?
Ayana also says, Black folks go from picking cotton to picking presidents. Black votes are carrying this election. Let's go.
Let's go.
Actually, yeah. And if you look at Atlanta, particularly, which is predominantly black, they're actually where the last few votes are left to be counted, and they've been narrowing the gap for Georgia, which Atlanta may actually bring Georgia in. So,
I mean, I'm not sure if Ernest Cooper is watching, but if you're watching, get your folks in Atlanta together. Gianni, get out there, get them together. You know, cast those ballots.
I'm trying.
All right. All right. So let's talk briefly about before we close out the election. I wanted to talk briefly about this Arizona shift. This shift where Arizona is turned blue, where it's been predominantly red for a long, long time. Now, it's no secret that Trump hated Senator John McCain from Arizona, even bad-mouthing him posthumously after he was dead. Now, Arizona had been a stronghold for, like I said, forever, but this has become now vital to Biden's potential win. So my question to you guys, right, is this revenge from the grave for John McCain? Is John McCain coming from the grave and getting his revenge on Trump? But before we do, real quick, I want to show. Let me share with the viewers some of the crap that Trump has actually said about John McCain, and I want to let everyone know he died 2 years ago? Was it 2 years ago? 3 years ago, from a brain tumor. And after he died from a brain tumor, he was still about bad mouthing.
So I have to be honest. I've never liked him much. Hasn't been for me.
And this is after he was saying this after he died.
Probably never will. But there are certain reasons for it, and I'll tell you. And I do this to save a little time with the press later on. John McCain received a fake and phony dossier. Do you hear about the dossier? It was paid for by crooked Hillary Clinton, right? And John McCain got it. He got it. And what did he do? Didn't call me. He turned it over to the FBI, hoping to put me in jeopardy. When he finally had the chance to do it, he voted against repeal and replace. He voted against
Obamacare.
in the morning. Remember, thumbs down.
Yep, he voted
I
against
endorsed
Obamacare.
him at his request, and I gave him the kind of funeral that he wanted, which as president, I had to approve.
That's a lie.
That is a lie.
I didn't get thank you. That's okay.
He didn't get a thank you from John McCain, and he's
But I
dead.
wasn't a fan of
dead.
John McCain. Now what we could say is, now we're all set. I don't think I have to answer that question, but the press keeps, what do you think of McCain? What do you think?
Yeah, anyway,
Not
so
my-
that gives you an idea of just how horrible a guy he was. So is this John McCain getting his revenge, you guys?
Again, another reason for me to dislike Donald J. Trump is, I'm really not a fan of John McCain.
Really?
No, I'm not a fan of John McCain. I mean, John McCain was against, having Martin Luther King's birthday be a holiday in Arizona for many years. Now he came, full circle, and he eventually apologized for that. But it's taken a while for John McCain to catch up to the progressive movement. But I, as a daughter of, a veteran, a World War II veteran, after John McCain, even before he died, but especially after he died, all of these knocks against his character, against his service, were highly offensive to me. So then I had to get out there and start defending John McCain. And that
Who you didn't like.
Who I didn't like as a person. And I certainly don't like his daughter. Megan, if you're watching, no, girl, I don't like you. But I think it's totally disrespectful for a president to give that type of speech.
It is.
No one really cares about you liking him, you never being a fan of his or whatever, the things that he has said about John McCain and his service are atrocious, especially from someone, again, who was a draft dodger. Okay,
Yep.
who draft dodged 4 different times. My father served, my father's brother served. I have other family members that have served who are still in Iraq. But yet, this MFer, y'all not gonna catch me cursing, this can sit up there on his pedestal and knock a celebrated POW veteran. How dare you? But remember, he did the same thing with John Lewis. When asked about how he feels about John Lewis after John Lewis died, the first thing he said was, well, he didn't come to my inauguration. So everything is personal for Trump. It's not country
Right.
first.
It's not about
He started
the country. It's about him.
me, and that's we cannot have that. We
Nope.
cannot have that. So yes, I think this is John McCain reaching up for the grave and snatching that orange wig off his head. 100%.
Robbie, what do you think?
It's I've said it many times before. Trump lacks decorum in every way, shape, or form. That's if you don't have anything nice to say personally, at least from a professional and political standpoint, there was enough that he could have said to honor and respect him. Do I think that it's from beyond the grave? Yeah, don't really buy into that. But karma, you reap what you sow. If you put that bad energy out there, you put that bad mojo out there, it's going to come back to you in some way, shape, or form. Put the good stuff out there, and that will also come back to you in some way, shape, or form. And I'm hoping that tonight, tomorrow, that will be Trump's comeuppance. It'll come up with a legitimate loss that he can't wipe away.
I agree with you as far as like it's not necessarily him from the grave, but with that being said, I mean I agree with you on karma because I'm certain that those people in Arizona were pissed off with the way he treated McCain because they loved McCain in Arizona, absolutely loved McCain in Arizona, and so I think even if it's not him coming back from the grave, it's his legacy that's biting Trump in the ass.
But also, I think a lot of people in Arizona. So Trump was the one who started up this conversation about John McCain being a rhino, which means Republican in name only.
Mm.
And that I think that offended a lot of people in Arizona as well, especially if you consider Donald Trump is not a real Republican. Donald Trump has, vacillated back and forth between the parties. He was a registered Democrat at one point. He has given money to the Democratic campaign. So if there's anyone who is the president of the Rhino Association in this country, it's Donald J. Trump. But like you said, people in Arizona, John McCain was their hero.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to belittle him and talk, ill about him, that was never going to go over. And then you had Cindy McCain,
Mm-hmm.
John McCain's widow.
Right.
She came out and endorsed Biden.
Yep.
Megan didn't really, and that's why we don't like you, girl. But your mama
didn't.
did. Not really. Megan talks a lot of BS.
He does.
Don't get me started. But Cindy came out and endorsed Biden and again reminded people of how awful this sitting president was towards her husband. Even in his dying, his final moments, he couldn't show compassion. And so, yeah, Arizona's like, deuces.
Yeah. I mean, I hope Arizona continues to go this route so that we can count on it for future elections.
I don't know about that.
but it'd be because I don't know. But anyway, I'm just glad. I'm glad Arizona did the right thing, and I'm glad that it's looking right because and I'm pretty. I tend to be pretty bipartisan, although I'm a registered Democrat. I try to be as bipartisan as possible, but Trump made that impossible. I could not even consider a Republican candidate because of Trump. And it really bothered me. It really bothered me. So I'm glad that the potential is over.
Look at them counting those ballots. Get it, y'all.
That's right. They're working hard. And see, you got the news in there. I mean, Trump's not going to be able to say anything. I think, and I'm pretty sure that they're CNN and the rest of them are up in there on purpose, making it very clear so that Trump can't say nothing.
But
All
also,
right,
it's a part of the transparency of
it
this
is.
democracy. Like, this isn't anything new, and that's what
No,
he
it
doesn't
takes
get.
days to certify election. Days.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the news organizations tend to call them. They call because they look at the number of votes and the number of outstanding votes and things like that. But you can't certify an election for days. Normal. All right, Gianni. Let's see what we got happening online. What kind of comments and questions do we have? Any comments or questions?
Yes. Kevin Thaxton said that those folks are in a cult.
Huh. Yes.
I agree. Jose says, I'm sorry, but has he ever been tested for insanity? Speaking about Trump.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know he has a disorder of narcissism. Narcissism is definitely a disorder he's been diagnosed with.
Yeah.
He's a little lying problem, you know. He's a little lying problem.
All of
Not
that.
disorder.
A huge lying problem. Jacqueline Robinson said, as an added bonus, McCain requested that President Obama eulogize him.
Oh yeah, that was great. I forgot
Yes.
about that. that was great. I loved that McCain did that. I know Lizzie doesn't like McCain, but I actually liked McCain.
Yeah.
I know now I didn't like some of his policies, but I think he was catering to his base at the time to some of the things. But I think he changed over time too.
And
Yes,
I
he
agree.
did.
I do think he changed though, and I do appreciate people in their maturation process.
Yeah.
But for the majority of my life, before he decided to get on the good foot, John McCain was not, you know, a friend of ours, if you will.
He wasn't.
But even if he hadn't matured or changed some of his viewpoints on certain things, I would never speak ill about him in death the way Donald
Should
J.
never
Trump
happen.
did. I would never do that,
Should
especially
always
as a
have that
leader.
respect.
Yeah, I would never do that.
Anything else, Johnny?
That's
before we close
exactly
out?
it, Liz.
Oh,
It's,
go ahead,
as a
Roger.
leader, you should never speak in that fashion, especially not when it's a public address. If that's how you feel within the confines of your circle, then express that view. But when you are speaking publicly and you are a figurehead, you have to lead, and that's not his forte.
And these were personal feelings. It wasn't as if, you know, John McCain was like a warlord or something in this country.
Mhm.
These were personal feelings, and you have to leave that to the side.
Yeah.
And he doesn't understand that
He didn't.
as a leader.
Yeah. Or he didn't care. All right, Johnny. One last comment. What we got?
Yeah. Marjorie said, Trump is an ass. It's a shame that we are even talking about him. He's such a loser.
Agreed.
Marjorie.
Yep. All right. All right. Thanks, Gianni. All right. Let's